Applied Instruction Presentation by Riley Rivera at Post University. Overview of the educational context. The target context is that of a kindergarten classroom. Kindergarten children are typically ages 5 to 6. The educational background of each student is incredibly diverse. Some students go to daycare, others have been to pre-K, others have stayed home their entire lives. The objectives are similar for each child, but the instruction to reach the objectives are not. Plan and rationale for differentiated instruction. One strategy is to use personalized greetings at the door, such as asking how the child's night went or asking how they're feeling that morning. Surveys can be filled out from both students and parents. That way teachers have more than one point of view about how the child lives and what they like. An All About Me bag is a bag where children can actually put items that they enjoy and share them with their teacher and explain why they enjoy those items. All of these items will be used to build a learner profile for each student. Before going into the pre-learning activity, it should be noted that the objective for this activity is that children are to recognize their first and last names, be able to write them, recognize them visually and verbally, and be able to build their first and last names. With that being said, the pre-learning activity has the following instructions. Students will find a partner and introduce themselves by saying, "Hello, my name is," and insert their name. This activity caters to the audible learners. Students are now understanding the sound of their names and will be ready to connect this to the sight of them. The activity during learning is actually a very unique activity. Students will complete the word search, shown here, with their names. Word searches such as these are actually made free online, and you can input any student's names. This one happens to have my name, and it has my first and last names. You can make the word search as big as you'd like or as small as you'd like, depending on the age group that you teach. Due to some of the children's last names or their first names being a certain length, this is an appropriate size for most children. This is a visual activity that caters to visual learners. A lot of children will be able to differentiate their own name by looking at the word search. Students will then compare their regular letters to their names. The post-learning activity instructions are as follows. Students will use Play-Doh to create letter shapes that spell out their names. For example, children will roll Play-Doh out and be able to create an R for Riley, an I, L, an E, and a Y. It is expected that children are able to look at their name and be able to create the letters with the Play-Doh. This activity caters to kinesthetic learners, and students are learning to build their names and mimic what they see. Carol Tomlinson states in her book that content is what teachers put into the lesson and what they intend the students to gain from it. A student may need content differentiation when they are unable to recognize their letters. For example, this would be incredibly difficult for children to recognize their names when they don't necessarily recognize the letters within their names. The content would need to incorporate the instruction of recognizing their letters rather than their name as a whole. The prerequisite to recognizing their names would be to recognize their letters individually, so the content would need to be changed to differentiate the instruction for students who are unable to recognize their letters. Carol Tomlinson defines process as a child's way of making sense of the information they are receiving. The word search might be overstimulating for some children. There are a lot of letters, and a lot of children may think those letters are crazy for them and may not be able to find their names. The process would then need to be differentiated by putting whole words on index cards and having children choose their names out of the words. For example, 2 index cards would be the child's name. So Riley and Rivera would have 2 separate index cards. In addition to that, a jumble of index cards with various words such as box, can, dog, cat are thrown into the mix. The child would need to look at all of these words and point out their name first and last. The third element of differentiated instruction is what Carol Tomlinson calls product, or the child's ability to extend or rethink the lesson. A child may not be able to spontaneously build their name with Play-Doh. The intended extension would be for the child to look at their name and be able to mimic the letters with Play-Doh. The first step towards extending the lesson would be to mold the Play-Doh to fit a mat, essentially tracing the letters of the name. For example, having empty bubble letters in front of a child so they can fit the Play-Doh into the letters would help them be able to feel what the letters feel like and be able to understand and memorize it for future use. As a kindergarten teacher, there are many goals that I have for differentiating instruction in my classroom this year, but I've narrowed it down just to 3. My first goal is to build a learner profile for each student. Essentially, I'd like to use surveys, all about me bags, and different greetings and questions in order to get to know my students. I'd like to get to know their interests, their learning styles, what they celebrate at home, and what they love to do. My second goal would be to teach using a variety of learning styles to satisfy all types of learners. While I am a kinesthetic learner, other children may not be, so all of my activities can't cater to what I believe. So I need to differentiate instruction by creating visual activities, audible activities, and so on and so forth in order to accommodate all children of different learning styles. The third goal that I have is to learn more about differentiating content, process, and product. This is a brand new concept to me from this course. With that being said, I'd like to learn more about content, process, and product that Tomlinson describes in her book, and I'd like to be able to brainstorm different activities that can differentiate the instruction based on those 3 key elements. While there are many different plans that would help to differentiate instruction, this one in specific allows the teacher to differentiate at a comfortable pace. Tomlinson does say that it's very important to be able to differentiate your instruction at a comfortable pace for the teacher as well. Successful differentiation comes from knowing and accommodating the vast differences in each child in the classroom. The best strategy to get to know students and organize this information is to build a learner profile for each and every student.